This video is to show you how to do a produced and consumed tags uh, in a remote chassis, two different chassis. So I have set up right up here, this is my producer chassis, number one, and the program is produced, consumed, remote chassis. And I also have already set up another program that is my consumer chassis. And if you will notice, the only thing that I have in each one of them is the processor. I have a producer processor in my producer, and I have a consumer processor in my consumer. So the first thing that I want to set up, and I've already built a program right here that has just going to have a bit, a counter, and a move function. And I've already created my tags for these to make this go a little bit faster. I've created a toggle, a counter, and I've created a produce tag. Um, I've brought up my tags here, and we are going to look at the properties. So here is the properties of the produced tag. We have made the tag name is produced tag 1. It is a tag type. It is a produced. Uh, and then under the connection, we've set it up to where it has one connection. Only one consumer can use information coming from this. And that's how we control who is getting this information. We will close that, and we will close that. And then I will go to my program. And of course, I will just set up my program real quick. And I set up the toggle. And I set up my counter. And I set up my preset, 5. And then I'm going to, on this, I am going to move my counter's accumulated value into the destination, which is my tag, my producer tag. The reason that I'm doing that is because for the information to travel from one processor to another processor, from going from chassis 1 processor to chassis 2 processor, it has to go through a produce and a consume tag. The second processor cannot see what this counter is doing. So we have to set it up through this process tag. And in order to do that, we have to set up our IO tree. The only things that we really need in our IO tree is our processor and a way to communicate. So we need to set up a new module, and this will be a communication module. And in this chassis, I happen to have a 1756 EN2T. And then we hit create. And to make this easy on me, I'm going to call this one panel 1's Ethernet. And I am going to put in the IP address. 1. And then I am going to change the compatible, the keying to disable keying. Then, so you see that I have in a name for it. The parent is local. The name, the IP address, and I've set this up, and I have to set up what slot it's in, and this one happens to be in slot 6. And okay, you'll see that it has added there. And that's all we have to do to the producer side of it. I need to close that. I can't cancel that. This side is finished. So now I can set up the consumer side of it. Now, the consumer side of it is going to be a little bit different because we have to set up a connection from the consumer back to the processor. And if you notice, I'm going to open up my main routine. All I put in here was an equal and a light. I'm going to go ahead and add the light because I've already created that tag, but I have not created my consumer tag. I want to be able to do that on the screen here so that you can see it. So over here in my IO tree, I am going to set up a my IO tree, and I'm going to do a new module, and I am going to set up a communication module because I want to be able to communicate back to the other Ethernet card in panel 1. And I am going to call this one panel 2 Ethernet. And I put in the IP address. I do have to change this. I'm going to change this keying. Okay. And I have to change the slot number so that it is in the correct slot number. And I click OK. Now you see that we have the processor, we have the Ethernet card, and then we have the Ethernet. And that, if we click on here and we say new module on the Ethernet, the reason we're doing it on the Ethernet is we're telling it at this point we're going backwards to a new chassis. And on this new chassis, we are going to make another module, which is a communication module. It is again the 1756 ENT2. We are going to create it. This is panel 1 Ethernet. We set up the keying. Can disable keying. A slot. And on this one here, we have a choice of how many, how big our rack is going to be. This is going to be a 7-slot chassis. So that just narrows down our choices. Click OK. Create. Close. And now you can see that we have this, and it created a new backplane. And then on this backplane, this is going back to our original chassis. And on this one, we need to set up our controller module. And this is a 1756 L71. And in case you do not remember, you can, we call that one producer. Chassis 1. Okay, and we did not have to make any changes there. So I'm going to pull this back up. If you look at this, what this is saying is, this is our processor, this is our Ethernet card. Let's go through the Ethernet. Let's communicate with this Ethernet card. We communicate with this Ethernet card in panel 1 to the backplane and talk to the producer chassis 1. Okay, so now over here, we still have to create one more tag. And this tag is our consumer tag. So I'm going to create a new tag, and I am going to call this one the consumed tag 1. And I'm just doing that so that it makes a little bit of sense. And I'm going to change it to consumed. I'm going to set up the connection, and you can see right here now it's telling me my producer is producer chassis 1. And the tag that I need to call it the remote data, where I'm going to get it from, has got to be an exact match for the information coming out of my producer chassis 1. I did a copy earlier, produce tag 1. This has all got to be exactly the same. It is case sensitive, so you have got to have this exactly the same, or it is not going to find that information. And when I click OK, and it is a dent, and we can create it. Then here I can say equals when source A, which is going to be my consumed tag 1 equals a value. I'm just going to put a value in here of 10 because my counter actually goes to 25. Let's turn on a light. So all I have to do now is to download this. Go back to this first one. So in this program, when this toggles, we'll see this count go up. And in program number 2, we should see it move over here. So I am going to pause it. I am going to go online, and then we will see this work. Okay, so I have downloaded, and both of my processors are in run mode. And as you can see, I'm going to toggle this bit, and you will see the counter will go up. You'll see it go into my counter accumulated value. It will then get moved to my produce tag, and then you will see that it will go from my produced tag into my consumed tag in my second processor. Let me go back to the first one. I'm going to toggle the bit. You'll see that it went to 3. It moved the 3 into my accumulated. My accumulated moved it into my produced tag, and then it moved it into my consumed tag. And in order for us to see that, I will set them side by side. I will toggle the bit, and as I toggle the bit here, you'll see it go up. And that is setting up your produced and consumed and doing it remotely into a separate chassis.